Well, tomorrow, prosecutors will file charges against a driver suspected of running down a pedestrian and leaving him for dead in Spokane Valley.
Chapman was critically injured in the collision at Mission and Herald on March 22nd. KXLY4's Jeff Humphrey is live at St. Luke's Hospital, where the victim is still recovering from the crash. Jeff?
And Robin, investigators say the driver that nearly killed Chapman has laid him up here in the hospital for months, has a pair of previous DUI convictions. In fact, Greg Sutton was still being supervised by the Department of Corrections when this crash happened.
He was walking home from the store, and the car just came from behind and hit him from behind.
Chapman was hit so hard by the passing car that he was knocked right out of his shoes. Witnesses to the crash say there's no way the driver didn't know they had slammed into someone, but the Chevy Blazer kept on going.
Oh, it makes me very angry. My son could have died. You know, my son almost lost his life, and he's getting some of it back, but he's 22. You know, this man should have stopped and helped him.
Deputies later identified that man as Gregory Sutton, and one reason he may not have stopped was because he didn't want to go back to prison. Sutton is a convicted drug dealer, and as a condition of his release, wasn't supposed to be drinking or driving. When he was arrested at his home just 8 blocks from the crash scene, and with the Chevy keys still in his pocket, Sutton admitted doing both. Meanwhile, his alleged victim is learning to walk again, but only recently did Chapman learn he has something to live for.
When he was waiting to go into a rehabilitation, he used to cry to me every day to just take his life, because it was awful for him. He was so unhappy and depressed, and he couldn't move, he couldn't get out of bed.
And that's why Chapman's family is so glad that hit-and-run charges are now being filed in this case, not to avenge Chapman's injuries, but to keep a long-time dangerous driver off the road.
He could hurt anybody, and why should he back on the streets to do that to some other family? I know what I've been through in the last few months, and my family, we have been torn, and my son, and I don't wish that on no one.
And unfortunately, Miss LePage speaks from experience. Recently, her fiancé in California was killed by a drunk driver. Meanwhile, the suspect in this case is already back in prison because he violated the conditions of his release by drinking and driving without a suspended license. Mr. Sutton will await his latest trial by doing 240 days at the Area Heights Correction Center. Reporting live on the South Hill, Jeff Humphrey, KXLY4.